Hey everyone, my name's Felix and this is Eastwood Fab. Today I'm bringing you a video on how to replace your LCD panel on your Phenom NOIR. If you recall, I did make a previous video on how to replace your LCD screen on the standard Phenom. And it was pretty straightforward, haven't had any problems with it since then, and it's been running like a champ. So from time to time, even on the monochrome screens, you may have to replace the screens. And I'm here to help you walk through that because at first glance it might be a little intimidating. So before we get started, let's grab ourselves some gloves. Now wearing gloves is going to be very beneficial because there's oil on your skin of your fingertips, and we don't want to get those on any of the parts inside. Also, get yourself some Allen wrenches because we're going to have to take off the back panel. And something else, make sure to remove your build plate as well as your vat, because we want to make sure that we have complete access to the LCD screen. And we're going to need, what I like to use is gaffer's tape. I'll show you some alternatives for other people, but if you recall from my previous video, I used gaffer's tape for the Phenom. I haven't had any problems with it. So it works really good, and the nice thing is that if you ever have to remove the tape, it won't leave any residue on your machine. So let's get this bad boy turned around, and we'll take off the back panel. The one thing that I did do on the previous was remove this door, which would make it a lot easier to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this door off, then I'm going to turn this around, and then we're going to take a look and see what's inside of the printer and go from there. Now, one of the other things I forgot to mention in the beginning of the video is it's probably a good idea to take out your USB stick, your thumb drive, because you don't want to accidentally knock it. It's just good practice in case you're turning it around or you walk next to it. I went ahead and I removed mine. So onward towards the back panel. Now before we take, now that we got the door off, I'm going to go ahead and take the tape off. Now there's probably going to be some residue because of the type of tape they use, but so far I'm not seeing a whole lot. But I'm still going to clean it up with some IPA. If you don't have IPA on hand, there's other products you can use. Just be careful that you don't get it inside the machine. Just put it on the Well, this is interesting. Let's see, this is why I do the video as I'm doing it. But they have a protective film here. Now, when I put on my LCD on my standard Phenom, I removed this part. Now there's a speculation on if you want to leave that on or not when you replace it. I've removed mine and I haven't had any problems since then. So that's all removed and that's pretty good to go. So now we're going to take off the back panel. And there we have it. This is the main board, and this here is going to the LCD, which is right over here. So it looks pretty familiar in comparison to the standard Phenom. Things are just rearranged a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on its front side so that way we can access the panel without any difficulty. All right, so I got it on its front side. sitting on a towel, of course. Now, just like the last time, you'll want to peel off gently this foam piece right here. And I'm just going to stick it right there. That way I know where it is. Now there is you can't just pull it off. The best thing to do, you can use your fingernail and that'll pop right off. This little lever right here, you want to tilt it towards. Now keep note of where this wire is. It really will only go on one way, just like on the standard Phenom. But this red wire, make note that the red wires are on the right side. So red on right, that's always easy to remember. And you just take it off, just like that. Okay, so I did some checking before I wanted to show you how to get the LCD out. It's a little bit more challenging than it is in comparison to the standard Phenom. I wasn't able to take, say, like a wooden stick or a popsicle stick and, you know, lightly take this out, because apparently there's some adhesive in there, and I was warned about this from the guys over at Matter Hackers, that there tends to be some adhesive that holds this in. So what I did was I took these 6 screws out, and once you have those screws out, I put them in a magnetic tray, and then I still took my stick here, and you can just kind of lift this up and use your pinky there in the back, and next thing you know, you're using all your other fingers, and just kind of gently remove the panel. And you'll see, there we go, you'll see the light box here. You'll see the rest of the panel that we saw from the inside, and we're just going to remove it, being very careful to make sure that the other end gets removed gently. Take a look at inside your light box here and see if you have any particulates or foreign objects in there, dust, anything like that. And if you notice you have any little dust, I just took some air. I sprayed it first and then sprayed the inside because I don't want any moisture. You know, don't turn the can upside down. And just make sure that you don't have anything wrong or anything foreign inside the box. So the next thing we're going to want to do is actually remove. We're going to want to remove the LCD panel from this frame. And it's going to take a little bit of muscle. I start at the edge. And I just gave it a little bit of a push from the bottom on the edges, not in the middle. Basically, I took my fingertips and I pressed along the edge here until it started to give way, and then it just started to come out. This screen is a little bit heftier than the Phenom screen. It looks like it's going to catch on these guys here. And there you go. There's the screen. Now I'm sure they're going to send you a cable which is really easy to replace. But I'm going to keep this cable. I don't think they're going to be too upset about it, but just in case they don't send me one. And it comes off in the same manner as it does off the board. You just lift this little lever. Just like that. There it is. So I just lifted it using my fingernail, and then voila, it comes off. And I'm going to cover that. Now they want me to send this back, so I'm going to go ahead and ship it back to them. It's too bad that these are consumables, but that's just the nature of the beast when you're resin printing. So stay tuned, and I'm going to go ahead and put this back in because I don't know what it's going to be like. The last one that I got for my standard Phenom was a little bit different. This one, this is how it came when I purchased the machine. So when we get the replacement, we'll be able to do a comparison. All right, so here we have the package in which our new LCD panel is in. And if we open it up, there's some basic instructions here. It says keep this side up before you open the panel. And it's pretty firmly packed in here. So when I take it out, we have just a simple box here. But on the bottom, it looks like they've included another panel to put the LCD in, which is a little bizarre because the one that's in here, there's no damage, there's no way of wearing it out or anything. So I'm going to carefully cut this tape. I'm going to make sure to cut here away from the panel. Now again, I just received this, I haven't opened it, so what you're seeing is what I'm seeing for the first time. What I am curious to know is if they've included a cable. All right, I had to go back and view some of the video that I made previously just to make sure I was doing this right. And the reason why I needed to do that is because on the back, and if you recall earlier when I removed the old LCD, it had what looked to be liquid, what they're calling bubbles. This is they say the dots underneath is normal, which is true. Yours might have those same when you get your new one in, but mine did not. It's pretty clean, and it kind of confused me a little bit. So I looked on the front here, and even though it does say that this is the front, which I'm assuming that they mean the top, this is not so clean on the surface anyway. So what I did was I looked back on the video. So if yours is like that and you're a little bit confused, what I did was this flap here, which is all the wires that connect to the LCD screen, is on the top, as you can see. So I went by that, and by comparing it to the LCD that I had previously that I removed, and that solved the issue. And again, I am very happy that I saved my cable because I did not include one. So when you remove yours, rather it be on this or any machine, any resin machine that you get a new screen for, I would highly recommend saving this cable. Now we're going to go ahead and, speaking of this cable, I'm going to go ahead and connect it. Now this little lever here, I don't know if you can see that. This lever here, make sure it's on the top, not on the bottom like this, but on the top. Now, if you see the red wires on the right, that's an indicator. You're looking at the top of the screen. Red is on right. You won't be able to put it in upside down, but I'm just saving you the trouble in case you decide to try. You pull this back and you gently, let's see if I can just get this a little bit closer, and you just kind of push it in there and you'll feel it click into place. And once you feel that, you just move this lever and just go on both sides. And you can use, if you want, you can use a metal, not metal. Make sure you use a wooden stick and push it down gently. Make sure you have a good strong connection there. And then just push this tape over it. Now if your tape is losing some adhesion, which you can do, and again I like to use gaffer's tape, because I use it in the industry, in another industry, and what's good about it is that it does not leave any residue, but it's still pretty sticky. So I'm going to go ahead, this is 2-inch wide. I'm just going to put this on here just to make certain that it stays on there. And there you go. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to damage anything. So we have this. And I went ahead and I screwed in the panel that came with it with the 6 screws. So that's in there nice and snug. And the next step is to just simply install the LCD screen. All right, reposition the camera so that you can get a better view. Now on the back here, there's some film. I'm going to go ahead and remove it carefully. Now the next step is to feed the cable in through the bottom there, through the slot, ever so gently, and as well as this flap, that goes in there as well. You have to be careful because it's glass and it fits right in there. I'm just going to peel that off. And it's installed. It's really as simple as that. Next, we're going to connect the cable in the back. All right, so I have the back panel opened up. Now this time I don't have the printer laying on its face. There's no need to, because the back panel, you have total access here. So this is, again, the main board of the printer itself. And if you recall from earlier, when we removed the cable, I left this pad here just as a safety precaution, keep it protected, remember which end it goes on. So I'm going to gently remove this off because there is still some adhesive. And I'm just going to kind of set that aside. We'll just set it here. And right here is where we have the cable that goes from our LCD screen. And this is the other end. With the motherboard this way, notice the cables are on the right, or in this case, the top. And I have the lever on the top as well. You don't want it underneath when you're trying to slide this back on, because then you won't be able to securely fasten the cable into the board itself. So this only goes one way. Also, you can see some of the residue left over on the clip itself from the foam piece, which is another indicator. So there's a lot of things that you can take note when you're disassembling this so that you can recall which way it goes back on. So I'm just going to line this up. And it doesn't really take a whole lot of force at all. I'm just going to take a little piece of wood And it just clips right on there. And then I'm going to turn this lever over, and with my trusty wood, I'm going to clip that on there. You can feel it snap into place with your thumb, but it's on there pretty good. So the next and final step, make sure that this isn't being hung up on anything. This is totally freely hanging, so I don't see it becoming a problem at all. So the next thing is to make sure to put this foam piece over. And you are all done as far as the installation of the LCD goes. Now the only thing that's left is to install the panel itself. So I have my screws here, and your panel goes here. All right, so this next step is pretty important. This is where we're going to put the tape on the sides here. This will prevent any light emitting through the sides of the LCD screen itself, and it also secures it as well. And what I'm going to use, and this is what I use on all my machines, I use gaffer's tape. I'll put a link in the description. This is a 2-inch. This is just what I have on hand, and what I end up doing is I cut it with a blade down the middle. But you can buy the 1-inch size, and I pretty much, like you see here, is I cut it with an X-Acto blade because I just don't have the 1-inch. So the first one I cut at 14 inches, and then this one I cut at 9 inches to make sure that it's at the right length. And the 1-inch is a good width. That's what was on there before, and it covers it enough. Now before we go ahead and put tape on it and everything, we want to make sure that the LCD screen is installed correctly. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn it on and give it a second. And we want to go to, on the left one with the wrench, you want to click Tool, and then there'll be a center one. It looks like a crosshair. So you click Calibrate. And all you have to do from here is click Next. Now the fans will come on, and they will stay on until the light turns off. And this is just to ensure that there's no problems with the screen. So I'm going to click Next, and then I'm going to, once I see that the screen's working fine, then I'll go ahead and turn it off. So it's going to go down, it's going to show it. And it looks like we have a good screen. Now these sides here, this is what we're going to be covering up. And when you're putting on your tape, it's probably a good idea to leave this on so you can pretty much see what you're doing. You can see the dark section on the edges. It's a border. That's where you want your tape to be, right there on the edge where it's dark. It's very easy to see. Hopefully you can see it with the camera, and then the rest just kind of hangs over. I'm going to click the back button to turn it off real quick. Something else to note, these two screws right up here are for when you put in your vat. Those are the stops. So make sure that when you put your tape on this side, that the tape is not touching these screw heads, because that'll make the vat sit this way too much. I know it's not that much, but we want to make sure that everything is done as it should be. That way you don't have to worry about any problems in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this tape. I'm probably going to do the first one And then when I'm editing this film, I'm just going to do it really fast. And calibrate. And then I'm going to click next. I'm going to get my tape ready. Okay, so next step, leveling the bed. The first thing what we need to do is take our build plate and note that there's two screws on either side of 4 of total. I've loosened the first 2. And you just take your Allen wrench and it's just a little bit of a turn. Just enough to make it a little loose right here like this. I'm going to place it make sure the surface is clean and there are no particulates because we only want to do this one time. I'm going to turn on the printer. I don't think I did this for my last video, but I think this is something that's important because I got a lot of questions on how to level the bed. So the first thing you're going to want to do is turn your printer on, and then you're going to click Tool. Then you're going to click on this here. It says Manual, and the Home button. Another thing to have on hand is a piece of printer paper. That way you can double check to make sure that there's no space in between. Once it's established its home position, what we're going to want to do, yeah, that'll fit. We're going to want to push down on the build plate and tighten all 4 screws. All right, once we have all the screws tightened, I'm going to make sure that there's no play. You'll get some in the center here. That's normal. At least it's been that way for me in the past. All right, guys. The door is installed. We've got fresh resin in our vat, a brand new LCD screen, and this build plate is leveled. And we do have a test print loaded and ready to go. So let's give this bad boy a test and see how we come out. Welcome back. So I went ahead and I printed my first test print since reinstalling the LCD. And this is the Mandalorian bust. And this is done by Eastman. And I will most definitely leave you a link in the description to his Patreon page. There's a ton of really nice models, fun prints. I highly recommend that you check him out. So again, this took about 13 hours on the Noir, which would take much longer on a standard Phenom. The screen worked great. I didn't have any hesitations. Just a couple of things that I wanted to go over before I let you go and close up here. With regards to the tape, we have the cap top tape, which is what I didn't go over when I was installing the gaffer's tape, Peopoly recommends this. This tape blocks the UV rays. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this going this route. It's just really a matter of preference. Again, I used the gaffer's tape just because that's my preference. Some people use the cap top tape because it's thinner and it will have better luck with as far as leveling goes. But again, I've used both and I've had no problems with either one. So it's really just a matter of personal preference. Also, when it comes to replacing your screen, Peopoly also provides a step-by-step instructions. I'll leave a link for that in the description as well. They're just pictures telling you exactly what to do and how to do it. This video was just in a large amount of detail in case I came up with any problems or hiccups during the process, then you'd be able to see it firsthand. That pretty much does it for this video. Next time, if I have to replace a screen or any other tutorials, please like and subscribe, and then you'll be able to tell when I come out with another video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll see you next time.